This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. A Winnipeg man accuses a garbage collection company of deliberately messing with his bin. The man got a bill with an extra fee for hundreds of dollars, saying his garbage bin was overloaded. As CBC's Cameron McLean reports, security camera footage shows that's not what happened.
He is purposely pulling stuff out.
Brad Wallen's business had just switched to a new garbage contractor. The fee for pickup was supposed to be around $60. But when he received the bill from Waste Management for the first load on March 26th, it was hundreds of dollars more than he expected.
I was shocked off the start because it was, we saw the invoice and we knew it wasn't right.
His bill included this photo taken from the truck, showing garbage sticking up over the edge of the bin. But Wallen says he knew the bin was not overflowing.
We make sure the lids are down like this and nothing's hanging out.
So Wallen checked his security camera footage.
The bin dumpster there is completely closed.
The video shows the driver gets out of the truck, unlocks the lid, and looks inside. Next, you see the driver pulling items out, leaving them hanging over the side of the bin, which makes it appear overflowing. The driver gets back into the truck and dumps the garbage in.
We saw the video. That makes your jaw drop a little bit when you know that they're scamming you. They're trying to rip you off.
Wallen called the company and told them about the video.
One of the individuals there told me that it's common practice. All they were doing was just rearranging the load so it dumps better. And that just doesn't even make sense.
Wallen wasn't buying what he was told. He says after several complaints, the company refunded the overage charge. In a statement to CBC, the company says the driver made an error in process, which was unintentional. They apologized to the customer and reversed the charge that was made in error. The company says its drivers don't receive compensation for overages. But Wallen says he may not be the only one this has happened to. Wallen says he's lucky he caught the incident on camera. Otherwise, he might have simply had to pay up. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A Manitoba delegation is off to the United States next week to rub shoulders with lawmakers. Premier Wab Kinew says it's important to deepen these ties, even amid uncertainty about America's future trade policies. CBC's Ian Fraze explains.
Wab Kinew says his first international trade mission as premier will strengthen ties with a critical ally.
Trade with the United States of America drives our provincial economy. And we need to have a really great, strong, enthusiastic presence there to ensure that those relationships stay strong.
The 4-day trade mission will take the Premier and his delegation to Washington, D.C., where Kinew will meet with Congress members and senators from both sides of the aisle. The Premier's office wouldn't reveal their names, only where they're from: Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Alaska. Other meetings will include one with a senior U.S. agriculture official, and Kinew will host a reception at the Canadian Embassy. In New York City, the Premier will meet with CIBC and 2 credit rating companies. Kinew's entourage includes former Premier Gary Dewar. Once Canada's ambassador to the U.S., Dewar is advising Kinew on relations between the 2 countries. Manitoba will also bring a 10-person delegation of leaders in business, manufacturing, agriculture, and labor, such as NFI Group President Paul Sobry and Price Industries President Chuck Fraley. The trade mission precedes a U.S. presidential election that could bring considerable consequences for Canada's economy. Kinew says Manitoba won't wait for American voters to decide.
The advice kept coming back that building strong relationships now to ensure that whatever Americans choose as their path forward in the future is going to be the best way that we can have good trade, good economic relationships, and that ongoing valuable partnership with our most important ally.
PC leader Wayne Owasco says the Premier should be focused on health care and other problems at home rather than going on a junket to the U.S. while the legislature is in session. The government wouldn't reveal the cost of this trade mission. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A formal complaint has been filed against Winnipeg City Councilor Russ Wyatt. The Transcona councillor called a cycling advocate a, quote, bicycle Nazi. It happened this week during a Public Works Committee meeting. Committee Chair Janice Luke says she filed a formal complaint with the Integrity Commissioner. She says the comment violates the city's code of conduct and is hurtful. Wyatt apologized, but Luke says it's important the commissioner formally looks at what was said. A program in Manitoba's Interlake that helps the survivors of sexual assault says its future is in doubt. Federal funding has ended for the Sexual Assault Recovery and Healing, or SARA program. It's run by Survivors Hope Crisis Centre and offers victims free counseling. The SARA program received $75,000 annually from Ottawa for the past 3 years. Executive Director Coral Kendall says they were informed earlier this month the Ottawa will no longer fund it.
Devastation and what that meant for the survivors that we work with and the severe outcomes that cut can cause towards the real lack of support that will now exist without that program.
The federal government says the funding was only set for 3 years. Kendall says the group has been crowdfunding to try to maintain the program. The province said today it'll provide $25,000 in funding on an emergency basis and says there will be discussions about long-term funding. A former police chief in Thunder Bay, Ontario, was arrested and charged today. This is the third arrest in an ongoing investigation by provincial police into allegations of misconduct at the force. Michelle Allen explains.
OPP arrested former Thunder Bay Police Chief Sylvie Hoth today. She was charged with obstruction of justice, breach of trust, as well as obstructing a public or peace officer. The Ontario Police Civilian Commission originally charged her under the Police Services Act in 2022. She was suspended with pay, but resigned before her scheduled hearing last January. The charges against Hoth are part of an investigation into alleged misconduct at the Thunder Bay Police Service. The investigation started 2 years ago after the Ministry of the Attorney General requested the OPP investigate. Current Chief Darcy Fleury said the service cooperated fully with the investigation. In a statement, he called Hoth's arrest a step forward towards resolution. The Thunder Bay Police Services Board said the current chief and deputy have been focused on rebuilding the community's trust. Hoth is the third person linked to the force charged in recent months. It charged former police lawyer Holly Walburn this week. It also charged Staff Sergeant Mike Dimony late last year. Michelle Allen, CBC News, Thunder Bay.
Winnipeggers are getting outside to enjoy the spring weather and play some outdoor sports. CBC's Zubina Ahmed spoke to some people taking advantage of the warm afternoon.
This warmer weather has Winnipeggers teeing off. It was a big day for golfers as the city of Winnipeg courses opened today. Pat Jacoby, an avid golfer for 40 years, was in full swing at Windsor Park.
The weather makes a big difference, obviously. There's very little wind today and the sun's shining, and like I say, you look around and you see the number of people that are lined up, and it's an hour and a half wait, but it's worth the wait.
The city's two other golf courses at Kristen Drive and Kildonan Park are also open. Dave Komaski is the city's golf operations coordinator. He says this year's opening date is 15 days earlier due to the mild weather.
A lot of golf is the goal, right? That we want people to come out and have a great experience at our courses, and so hopefully that's the case this year.
Komaski says the morning frost delayed first tee times by 2.5 hours, but that did not deter golfers.
Sun's shining and people have smiles on their faces and they're anxious to play golf, so it's great.
You've been itching for the courses to open all winter.
It's really just a bunch of friends. We all get together and it's a nice outing, so we're really excited.
Meanwhile, the city's downtown was bustling around lunchtime. Many outside at the Forks having a beer, ice cream or coffee and soaking in the warm sun.
I'm excited just to really walk around and soak in the sights around here. I mean, the river and the foliage is all very gray, but warm weather will make it lovely nonetheless.
It feels amazing, like taking a bath in the sunshine.
I'm very surprised, and it's also good timing that my friend's visiting, so I'm happy the weather got better before he came, so it's really nice.
This weekend, the temperature could get close to 20 degrees. The average in Winnipeg is usually around 10 degrees this time of the year. Zubina Ahmed, CBC News, Winnipeg.
CBC weather specialist Riley Laychuk joins us now for a look at the forecast. Riley, it looked like it was a beautiful afternoon out there.
Yes, a calm afternoon, quite sunny, but there's some weather on the way. Yes. I'll put a damper on that if you're not a fan of rain. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Let's get through the weekend first, because we're looking at a very nice weekend across most of Manitoba. Perhaps a good weekend for a car wash, and we'll let the car wash forecast give you the details on that. So, yes, we are looking at potentially some scattered showers early in the morning tomorrow, so I'd wait till maybe a bit later in the day if you're going to do a car wash on Saturday. Sunday will be the better day, though, because we're looking at wind still a little bit gusty, but sunnier conditions. Monday, also not a bad day for a car wash, but I only say it's not a great day because we do have some precipitation on the way, so that freshly washed vehicle won't last long. So my advice is do it Sunday. Looking at projected daytime highs, yes, we're really going to take a bit of a nosedive here as we get into the next 7 days. So approaching that 20-degree mark, almost a full 10 degrees above normal for this time of the year. But look at what happens as we get into next week. Highs back down into the single digits, which we'll get into because we're looking at some considerable rainfall potentially to parts of Manitoba as we get into mid next week. So 11 degrees right now in Winnipeg. Mainly cloudy. We have seen some sunny breaks out there through the afternoon today. South winds just at 4. So it's been, yes, a pretty calm afternoon. Mainly sunny skies. We've seen the leading edge of a little bit of cloud start to make its way in, and a little precipitation also making its way into the Westman area. This along frontal boundary that will push through the province, through the overnight hours, through the Westman region and the Parkland region, and just sort of skirting its way through the Red River Valley by early morning. So a good chance we'll see some scattered showers really west to east across Manitoba through the later evening into the early morning tomorrow. More like a chance of some scattered flurries or periods of light snow across northern Manitoba. But by the time we get through later Saturday, even by about the lunch hour, we're looking at mainly sunny skies across much of southern Manitoba. Still a little bit of cloud hanging on even into Sunday across the north. But as we get into Monday, yes, you can see the leading edge of this next weather maker here as cloud starts to build in. And this is what will impact us as we get into mid next week with some rain coming to much of southern and central Manitoba. In terms of rainfall, trace to a couple of millimeters by the time we get to lunchtime Sunday. Snowfall, much the same, about a couple centimeters here and there in some of those pockets of heavier precipitation. Tonight in Winnipeg, down to 4 degrees, cloudy periods tonight. Yes, some scattered showers through the morning hours tomorrow at 6, and by the time we get to the afternoon, we're looking at a mainly sunny day. Southeast winds, though, gusting to 40, so perhaps a little bit breezy at times. Up to 17 by the time Sunday rolls around, a mainly sunny sky. And yes, then we're into the rain Tuesday, Wednesday, into the later half of the week, Emily, which we'll talk about in your 7-day forecast later on.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
When a high school teacher in St. Teresa Point noticed her students were struggling with mental health, she turned to some traditional methods of coping, and that led to some calming results for the kids. Here's another story from our Communities in Focus series when CBC visited the Island Lakes region of northern Manitoba.
My name is Gwen Harper. I teach textile arts and design to grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. The kids are actually loam beading. They're making keychains, and the ones that are done, they're making mitts. When I teach, it doesn't matter if I teach grade 1 or grade 8 or grade 12, I'll always integrate Aboriginal studies. So I integrated this textile art and design with our Aboriginal culture. In early years, they have land-based education. In high school, there's Aboriginal studies, but it's not like this where everything is hands-on.
Our grandparents used to do it because it's tradition for us to do this. And so we can, if we learn it, we can keep it going. For me, it's pretty hard being creative because I'm not really that creative, but whenever I make up my own design, it makes me feel all happy.
So this is actually the first year this course has been offered. I'm pretty excited about the things that they're making. I'm not professional. There was a lot of anxiety attacks, panic attacks, and especially cyberbullying. The kids talk about it. Parents contact me. saying my child is getting bullied, and it leads to mental well-being, right? So this class, everybody seems to be calm and they're enjoying themselves. And I do teach them about culture, what it's all about, where it came from, where we came from, and a bit about our history. They're First Nations people. They carry a lot of knowledge, they carry a lot of wisdom, respect, or they're supposed to, and they're starting to know. We are First Nations people, and they should be proud of where they come from, who they are.
History buffs and lovers of maps are in for a treat this weekend. The Manitoba Archives is displaying some of its vast map collection, which goes back to the early 1700s. You can drop by its open house tomorrow from 1 to 5 at 200 Vaughan Street. I had a chance to speak with one of the main archivists earlier today. I'm here at the Manitoba Archives open house with the keeper of the Hudson's Bay Company Archives, Kathleen Epp. Hi, Kathleen.
Hi, welcome here.
Thank you. How does it feel to have an open house with so many people?
It's so exciting. It's amazing. We had a lineup of people at 1:45. We opened the doors, and the room is full and noisy, just the way we wanted it.
Awesome. So you're the keeper of the Hudson's Bay Company Archives.
Yeah.
What kind of interesting things from that collection might people see here?
Oh, we've got lots. We've got the oldest map in our collection, which is from 1709. So that's a really great one. We've got other maps that show sort of the growing knowledge that the Hudson's Bay Company was looking for in terms of mapping Western North America and the North so that they could advance their business, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what kind of things could people learn by looking at those maps from the 1700s?
Yeah, I mean, those maps really started with a lot of empty spaces and then filled up over time. And part of the way the Hudson's Bay Company was able to do that was to work with Indigenous people, to rely on Indigenous knowledge. Of course, the traders came in, they didn't know anything, right? So they needed to talk to the people and work with the people who knew these places. And so we do have some maps that show the Indigenous way of mapping and the Indigenous knowledge that was used by people who were surveying the land and documenting that in order to send it to London to have maps made, and some of those maps here as well.
Wow. And so how is the Indigenous way of mapping different than the way they were doing it in England?
Yeah, I mean, it's more of an oral tradition and really about landmarks, about how do you get from here to there. And so, you know, there were some certainly misunderstandings of that knowledge, and so some errors on maps where they didn't understand that way of knowing, but it was certainly there, and those who listened and documented it really learned about the landscape around them.
And how did mapping Manitoba, you know, affect the history of Manitoba?
Right. We like to say, you know, really the mapping is foundational. Land is foundational. Land is everything, right? And land is about colonialism. It's about settlement, and really it is about the history of Manitoba. So as you go through the exhibit, you start 1709, 1795, and then you get to the 80s and you see what Winnipeg looked like, what Brandon looked like, what Manitoba looked like, and just to see that over time. These are places we know, and to see those lines filled in and lines added and lines that aren't there, streets you thought you knew that looked a bit different, you know, 50 years ago, it's really interesting.
Yeah, like what kind of evolution can we see in Winnipeg if we look at an older map from last century compared to what it looks like now?
Right, well my favorite one that we're pulling out is an 1836 plan of the Red River colony that shows an oxbow in St. Boniface, where it would have been the Red River and then it became an oxbow, and of course now that's filled in and it's Enfield Crescent. So a lot of people know that street in Winnipeg and might be interested to see what it used to look like.
Mm-hmm. And how often, I mean, it's been a while since you've done the archives, but I guess this is a special event. People need to come down now if they want to see it, right?
Yeah, we don't do this very often. Normally we're open for research, and it's not that the maps are closed to research. People can come and make an appointment to see them, but some of them are quite large. Sometimes, you know, it might take 3 people to get them out of the vault and unrolled and ready for people to see. And then, you know, you're taking up maybe a very large table, and so you can't look at 2 side by side. So you can consult them one at a time. So we've opened the doors, pulled a bunch out so that people can see several of them and just have a look for themselves without having to request just one.
So fascinating. Thanks so much, Kathleen.
Oh, thank you.
Coming up, airlines are suspending flights, and the U.S. has ordered a travel lockdown for its diplomatic staff in Israel. It's happening over fears Iran could launch an attack at any moment. That story after the break. Israel's military says it's bracing for a possible attack by Iran. It would be in retaliation for a suspected Israeli airstrike on the Iranian embassy in Damascus on April 1st. The latest report suggests it's only a matter of time before Tehran makes good on its threats. CBC's Margaret Evans reports.
In Gaza, the daily fight to survive grinds on. The fervent wish of so many Gazans and of Israeli relatives of hostages held by Hamas is for a ceasefire. But warnings from Washington of what it calls a credible threat that Iran is planning an imminent attack against Israel have raised fears of escalation.
I want to get a secure information, but my expectation sooner than later.
What's your message to Iran in this moment?
Don't.
Washington has sent its top general to Israel in a gesture of support, meeting with Israel's defense minister. Our enemies think they can pull Israel and the United States apart, says Yoav Gallant, but the opposite is true. Israel is widely believed to have been behind an attack on the Iranian consulate in Damascus earlier this month, but reportedly didn't inform Washington ahead of time. 7 people were killed, including 2 top Iranian generals, prompting Tehran to promise retaliation.
But they fear at the end of the day, any direct clash with Israel will bring in the United States and the UK and other Western powers. And that's the Iranian leaders do not really want to take risks, strategic risks, and attack Israel directly.
Some analysts, including Fawaz Gerges, believe if there is a retaliatory attack, it could come from one of Iran's many proxies in the region. The most powerful, Hezbollah in Lebanon, has been firing rockets at Israel in support of Hamas since October 7th. There were more on Friday night.
By attacking Iran's sovereignty and Iran's consulate in Damascus, Israel is either directly or indirectly, wittingly or unwittingly, expanding or trying to expand the conflict, which goes against the overarching goal of the Biden administration.
Whether there is or isn't a direct attack against Israel from Iran, the potential for things to spin out of control in the Middle East is never very far from the surface. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.
The federal government announced new parts of its housing plan today, focusing on getting rental homes built. The Prime Minister also threw down the gauntlet for provinces and municipalities, saying they need to do their part. CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian reports.
We are releasing the most comprehensive and ambitious housing plan ever seen.
Federal governments have seldom built housing strategies in this country. This is Justin Trudeau's second shot at it. Years ago, he focused on affordable housing. Now, with skyrocketing monthly mortgage and rent payments, Ottawa has rental housing in its crosshairs.
We're going to do that by reducing the cost of home building, by putting tax incentives on the table for builders, low-cost financing. We're also going to be launching new measures that help unlock federal lands.
The government's launching $15 billion in more loans, the goal to spur the construction of at least 30,000 new rental units over the next year. And some of that will be on public lands, the government opening up its own portfolio for either sale or lease.
We're seeing language and a scale of an initiative that I've never seen before.
The financing amounts and opening up of more land will start putting a dent in the housing gap, this developer says, and more rental units will improve the overall market.
The risk, of course, is that rental housing is so incredibly expensive that there's nothing left at the end of the month to start saving for a down payment. So having a little bit of a surplus or oversupply of rental housing would be really good.
But as Ottawa muscles in on turf it does not usually touch, some are crying foul.
They've swooped in and they've got a special deal with Edmonton, a special deal with Calgary. They've handpicked 6 different municipalities to work directly with and left over 340 other municipalities out in the cold. We just don't think that's fair.
Trudeau was hammered months ago for saying housing is not a primarily federal responsibility. He's now pushing back.
Provinces should be careful what they wish for. They want the federal government to fix this housing crisis? We are. We will. We are there to work hand in hand in full respect with those provinces who want to solve the problem and ask those provinces that don't want to solve the problem to just get out of the way.
Ultimately, though, it's consistent messaging on cost of living issues from the federal Conservatives that's pushed the government to act on housing policies. The Liberals' electoral fortunes have yet to improve in opinion polls. The budget next week might be their biggest test yet. Rafi Boudjikanian on CBC News, Ottawa.
Rising home sales and rising prices were predicted today in an outlook from the Canadian Real Estate Association. It reported just a 1.7% increase in sales last month compared with 2023, March last year. But it's expecting a 10% increase this year, with prices rising almost 5%. Real estate company Royal LePage today predicted an even larger increase for some cities. It comes amid speculation that interest rate cuts could be on the horizon. The head of CSIS is defending the spy agency's work in handling intelligence on attempts at election meddling. This after the Prime Minister said it's his job to question that intelligence and call out any contradictions. CBC's Ashley Burke has the latest on this last day of this stage into the public inquiry into foreign interference.
David Vigneault,
the head of Canada's spy agency, back to face more questions and defend his agency's work.
as a director of CSIS, I think it's important that we understand that intelligence is a little bit like a puzzle.
David Vigneault appearing virtually as this stage of the public inquiry into foreign election meddling wraps up.
Sometimes, through use of raw intelligence and assess intelligence, we are building that picture. But I think what is important to remember is that this is done by professional, trained intelligence analysts.
That comment after the Prime Minister said yesterday it's his job to question intelligence about foreign interference threats from CSIS.
We have a role to play in asking questions, on thinking critically, on encouraging further work, on questioning sources and pulling out contradictions.
Over 10 days, 40 witnesses testified about countries like China's attempts to influence the past two federal elections. The commission heard the results weren't impacted, but there were vulnerabilities exposed.
The community doesn't feel safe.
Diaspora groups said they don't feel protected.
It touches your life. It touches your safety. It touches your security.
Candidates who said they were targeted called out the government for failing to warn them until it was too late.
It's almost like I was drowning and they are watching.
And the Prime Minister's inner circle said CSIS didn't communicate everything it wrote down on paper about the threat.
We have never heard language like the stuff that is in this document.
The commission will now start working on its interim report that's due next month before launching into the next phase of this public inquiry, which is investigating if Canada has the capacity to counter this threat. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Social media has introduced many new words, and one of the uglier ones is sextortion, luring victims to transmit intimate photos, then using those photos for blackmail. Protection strategies were unveiled this week by Instagram, but many internet watchers are unimpressed. CBC's Anis Hadari reports.
Young people on Instagram will face new barriers if they send or receive nude photos. The idea is that temporarily blurring images can prevent abuse and blackmail. But child advocates say Instagram's parent company Meta isn't doing enough.
It really seems like a Band-Aid approach, and the responsibility still rests with kids to keep themselves safe, and there's just so much more these platforms can be doing.
If the app automatically detects a nude, it will prompt users to tap an extra button to see or send it. If they do, the image goes through. In a statement, Meta said nudity protection will be turned on by default for teens under 18 globally and will show a notification to adults encouraging them to turn it on. Experts point out users can just go elsewhere.
They're going to go to other platforms like Snapchat and Wiz that don't have these kind of current safeguards or regulations, and they're going to start using those platforms.
And there's concerns about how automated detection would work because AI can make mistakes.
Including through sort of a discriminatory overreach into some types of conversation and not others, or sort of a discriminatory approach to content moderation and what images come down or what conversations come down and are flagged and which ones are not.
It's not clear when these features will take effect. Meta has said it's testing them, but researchers point out there's no accountability.
There's no need right now for them to share the data. How effective are these measures? They will 100% be collecting that data, but they don't have to share it with anybody.
One thing isn't blurry. Anyone of any age isn't blocked from sending nudes on Instagram because the app doesn't require proof to say you're old enough. Anis Hadari, CBC News, Calgary.
Loblaws is reinstating its 50% discounts on food nearing expiration, but only in certain areas. More after the break. It was a story that became a lightning rod for the anger and anxiety surrounding inflation. Grocery giant Loblaws reducing its discount on food nearing expiration. The decision was reversed, but now a Loblaw subsidiary is getting attention. CBC's Sophia Harris reports.
Kim Seaver went to his local superstore to check out the deals after owner Loblaw announced it would reinstate 50% discounts on food nearing its best before date. But all perishables here still have 30% off stickers.
I was disappointed.
Why do you think it should be 50% across the board at Loblaw stores?
Well, clearly they can afford it if some stores are offering it.
Back in January, Loblaw lowered its 50% discounts to 30% for perishable food. That angered customers amidst rising prices. So Loblaw backtracked, saying it would bring back the 50% markdowns where they existed before. And in an email to CBC News, the grocer confirms all of the discounts went back to what they were previously, which range between 30% and 50% off in respective stores. When Loblaw announced the initial change, real Canadian superstores were already only offering 30% discounts. So Loblaw says that discount stays put.
I'm at Superstore.
Warren Chapman says his neighborhood superstore previously offered a 50% discount, but changed it to 30 around 5 years ago. He believes Loblaw should reverse that decision too.
Just don't see how they could justify treating their customers at Superstore different than they're treating their customers at their other stores.
Consumers talk to each other, and you can quickly be pointed at as an unfair grocer following unfair practices. And to me, that criticism is warranted.
This professor says Loblaw should offer half-off deals at all its standard stores or risk more backlash.
As a national player, you have to be extremely careful.
Give us the 50% off. We appreciate it.
Chapman and other superstore shoppers hope Loblaw will once again change its discount policy. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Toronto.
Scientists have found coral bleaching is now happening in deeper waters in the Great Barrier Reef and the Coral Sea.
I think if the bleaching continues the way it is, 50 years from now, so right now we're facing a big decline in populations. 50 years from now, we might be facing extinction.
A dive team of researchers found fresh evidence of coral bleaching about 150 meters underwater. Deeper parts of the reef were thought to be insulated from global warming. Australia's Great Barrier Reef Marine Park is the world's largest and best managed marine reserve, but despite extensive protections, the reef is dying. It lost nearly a third of its corals during the last global mass bleaching event about 10 years ago. This year appears to be following a similar trend, with reports of bleaching across the Caribbean and the entire Great Barrier Reef. Well, Riley Leitchuk's back with another look at the weather. Riley, I was hoping to go on a big walk tomorrow. Am I safe?
We're looking at a pleasant afternoon, Emily.
Okay.
Yes, some scattered showers through the morning, but yeah, we're looking at some good conditions, especially if you're taking the dog for a walk. Ruben has never really liked going for a walk. Ruben actually celebrated his 13th birthday yesterday, says Amanda, and says that I have on good word that he was going to be getting a teen burger to commemorate the event. So way to go, Ruben, for making it to 13. Talk back at cbc.ca is where you can send your pet pictures to. Yes, so we're looking at tomorrow morning, potentially some scattered showers first thing, but other than that, we get to a sunnier sky by the time we hit 4 o'clock, even just about 20 degrees, the forecast time in Winnipeg. And yes, we're looking at some places potentially getting above that 20-degree mark. On a more serious note, the province late this afternoon issuing a flood warning for the Assiniboine River from Shellmouth in western Manitoba to Brandon because of the fast melt in some of the higher elevations, leading to high flows along the Assiniboine River. And yes, no real widespread impact, but certainly we could see some overland flooding in some low-lying areas. So just a caution for the western part of the province where, yes, we have seen some pretty warm temperatures throughout the last couple of days for sure. So today getting up to 16 in Melita, 13 in Brandon, 12 is what we got to late this afternoon in Winnipeg, 13s and 14s around the rest of southern Manitoba, and 5 in Thompson. Right now, temperatures 13 in Morris, 7 in Gimli, 8 in Victoria Beach, 12 in downtown Winnipeg right now. And we're still looking at temperatures in the double digits through the southwest, 16 still in Melita right now, and Thompson is at 5 degrees. Looking at tonight's forecast, yes, we're looking at a mainly clear night. A little bit of cloud cover starts to build in through the overnight hours, but we're looking at a partly cloudy evening at least. So temperatures down into the single digits, even around freezing through the Riding Mountain region, down to 4 overnight tonight in Winnipeg, into the northern part of the province, dipping below the freezing mark, but we do see some of that instability along that trough line moving through. And yes, some scattered flurries, maybe some light snow first thing in the morning. That does move a little bit toward the east as we get to the lunch hour. And yes, some scattered flurries still into the afternoon for north central Manitoba. For the south, this is in the form of some showers, and you can see by 7 o'clock, most of this is already pushed out of the region, but still a chance, especially through eastern Manitoba, we could see a few stray Saturday. Showers or some raindrops through the afternoon. By noon, up to 16 degrees in Verdun and Melita. And yes, looking at a 21-degree high in Melita tomorrow. 19 in Winnipeg, and skies clear through the later afternoon. Emily, through northwestern Ontario.
Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, if you like fashion but also want to support sustainability, you'll want to be at Sunday's free fashion show at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. We'll meet one of the designers after the break. If you're interested in fashion and sustainability, this event is for you. The Manitoba Council for International Cooperation is hosting a fashion show this Sunday. The free event looks at fashion's true costs as local designers display their collections on the runway. I got to meet one of those designers yesterday. Check it out. I'm here with Leonard Taylor, one of the designers being featured in this weekend's Conscious Couture Sustainable Fashion Show. It's happening at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. Hi, Leonard.
Hello.
So here we are in your store at Johnston Terminal. Tell us about your clothes and what makes them sustainable.
I make sustainable clothes here in Winnipeg. So we make from cottons, lyocell's, linens, different materials that are just really nice and soft on the skin that make you feel amazing. Then if you rip it, tear it, break it, stain it, you don't have to throw it out. I can paint over top of the stains, I can mend the rips, so you have clothing for life. And I go one step further. If you want to learn how to do that, I can teach you all the different tricks and tips that I can give you so that you can do it yourself and empower yourself with that.
Wow. And so why is that, high quality fabric part of sustainability?
Well, because it's going to last. Start thinking about how many times you're going to wear something, your cost per wear. This is an amazing way to take that, say if it's a $305 garment, you wear it 30 times, that's $10 a wear. You buy a shirt for $20, you wear it once, that's a $20 wear. So it's a really great way to say, I'm going to buy a quality piece that I'm going to wear over and over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. And so why is it important to you in your business that your clothing be sustainable? Why is that one of your values?
For me, I just look at what's happening in the world right now. We're seeing a lot of extinction on a global scale. Our impact as a human race is huge. And what we put on ourselves, you've heard the saying, you are what you eat, you are what you wear. So if you're putting on a garment that is made in mass production and slave labor conditions, you're putting that on your skin. Your body's feeling that whether you like it or not. When you're putting on a garment that's made with love and a sustainable way, you put it on, you're like, wow, this feels amazing. And that's what our clothing does for us.
Mm-hmm. And tell us a bit, what's new in fashion for you this spring?
For me, what's new in fashion is creating a modern wardrobe that you're going to wear over and over and over again. You can accessorize it with color, you can change it a little bit with little tweaks, but getting a wardrobe that's going to give you a smile on your face every single day is your number one best thing that you can do for yourself. Because you're going to go into your wardrobe and go, this piece here, and it feels good as soon as you put it on. And then you can accessorize with a little bit of color, maybe some lipstick, something that you want, a fun hat, something like that to change the look.
Mm-hmm. And I did notice they all feel nice and soft and they have a beautiful look, but some people might say, oh, it's lovely, but it's out of my price range. What would you say to people?
I always say it's investment pieces. You're investing in yourself. You're buying, some people, they're like, oh, organic food, it's so expensive, but then you're investing in yourself. And that's the biggest thing that the best thing you can spend your money on is yourself. So if you say, oh yeah, it's expensive, but if you're buying 10 shirts at $20, you're at $200, right? If you buy one shirt at $155, yes, it might be a lot more than that $20 piece, but you're going to wear it over and over and over again. That's where that cost per wear. How often are you wearing this piece? And that really brings your cost per wear down.
And what are you excited about most when you're hitting the runway on the weekend?
For me, it's all about educating and informing people on how to make choices that are going to give you the best experience in your life. I specialize in helping people wake up and then dress themselves in clothing that gives them confidence, that gives them that ability to go out into their day and take on their dreams and really take the day in their own capacity. And that's the best thing about clothing. It gives you that confidence, it gives you that sophistication and makes you feel amazing. So when I'm on the runway or if I'm speaking to people, I just love seeing the smiles and helping people and seeing those aha moments. Oh, if I change my wardrobe like this, or this color is going to be really good on me, or this style of garment's going to look really good on my body type. I love helping people understand what their clothing does for them.
And making the right choice is part of something that you'll keep, I'm sure.
100%. It gives you that lasting impression, that confidence to achieve your goals every single day and give you a smile like I've got on my face right now that just makes you happy. And that smile is infectious. It gives people that well feeling and comfy coziness that only comes from putting on a garment that makes you smile and feel good.
Well, thanks so much. It was great to talk with you.
My
Bernard.
pleasure. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing everybody on Sunday.
Still ahead, Riley Lachuk's back with the 7-day forecast. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News.
Well, as we start Saturday, watch out for a few scattered showers. First thing in the morning, 6 degrees to start in Winnipeg. Southeast winds 15 to 30. We do start to see sunnier conditions by the time we hit the noon hour, up to 19 degrees tomorrow afternoon with southeast winds gusting to 40 through the afternoon. 17 for Sunday. Increasing clouds as we head through Monday ahead of a pretty significant amount of rain coming to some parts of Manitoba. Right now, I'm saying about 10 to 20 millimeters Tuesday through Thursday for the Red River Valley, but some of the forecast modeling suggesting some parts of the province could get up to 40 millimeters through mid next week, and we start to see a sunnier sky returning for next Friday. Well, there's the University of Iowa's Caitlin Clark, there's Canada's very own Aaliyah Edwards, and then, Emily, there's Shirley Simpson.
Yes, she's the 84-year-old grandmother from Kelowna, BC, and she's aiming high all the way to the WNBA. Here's tonight's Daily Lift.
This is day one of my journey from 84-year-old grandma to WNBA All-Star. My husband was ill, and I was taking care of him, and the grandsons definitely, and the whole family, definitely wanted me alive, and I wasn't in very good shape. And so they decided to start me on a trek towards the WNBA, and so that's what I did. They got me exercising and got me fit, and it's just been fun. It's been a really great time being with them in this capacity. They hate to see a granny like me shine and secure the bag.
What was it like when you first started, shooting hoops and playing with the ball?
I couldn't dribble and I couldn't shoot. And then they taught me that whole issue of memory and how to keep on making your muscles be used to doing it. And so it got better and better. And the dribbling, I can remember one day Parker said, just at least 10. Can you give me at least 10? And so I said, okay, I will. So then 26 backwards and forwards things, and my dribbling was up to par again.
Obviously, social media can be a pretty savage place. Everyone knows that. But 9 out of 10 comments are all really positive and supportive of her.
The more I do things, the more I'm going to be able to do things. And it's very, very true. You don't sit around and wait to die. You get active, and it can be part of life. And I love every minute of life.
You got to hand it to her for giving it a shot, Riley.
You know, I think she's done more than give it a shot. I think she could be a star in the WNBA.
I think she's already a star, and you could see her improvement there. So that's encouragement. All of us can get out there and do it. That's our show for tonight. Hope you have a great weekend. Get out there, enjoy the beautiful weather.
Have a great weekend.